It's a look. I don't think it's a good look, but it's a look. I don't want you looking over there. Look over here. Hello and welcome. Today, well, over the next few days, I'm going to be seeing if I can finish my TBR in 24 hours. And I've done the 24-hour challenge twice before to moderate success, but I thought we'd try it in a new way today, and that is the way where you do it in two 12-hour chunks. So I'm going to read 12 hours today, and then I have to do some work stuff tomorrow, but then the day after we're going to read another 12 hours. So we're going to read 24 hours in 3 days, and we're going to see if I can get through what is left of my TBR. If you've watched my TBR video, you know that I chose 6 books for this month. And while I've read a large number of books, I haven't read that many of my TBR. I've only read 2. So I have 4 left to try and get through in 12 hours. This might feel easy to some people, but I am not a fast reader. So for me, 4 books in 24 hours is like the perfect amount. The 4 books are The Drift by C.J. Tudor, The Princess of Potential by Delamatch, Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks, and Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. So the goal is to set a 12-hour timer, read for 12 hours, take a day off, set another 12-hour timer, read for another 12 hours, and get through these 4 books. So I think that we should get started. I'm going to start with Year of Wonders because it is the most outside my comfort zone, and I feel like that is a good starting point while I'm feeling, you know, refreshed and ready to go. So I'm actually going to start with the audiobook for this, I think, if it exists. It does. So I'm going to start with the audiobook for this, and we're going to start the timer. Let me pop my headphones on so that I can press start and go one after the other. Apparently I haven't had enough coffee. It's been about 2 hours. And I've made good progress, I think. Maybe not. I'm like 130 pages into Year of Wonder. Oh, that's the puppy. Let me let the puppy in. Hello. Just gonna have a drink. We'll just wait. Are you gonna come here, are you? Come on in. I'm gonna keep talking if you... I know you want to. Big jump. Come in. Okay, I'm gonna... She's here. And she'll probably climb on me in a second. I'm gonna talk to you. So this is a historical fiction about a small town in England and the plague. This little tiny section was kind of in the aftermath of the plague, and then the rest of it has been like a year previous, and we're getting to know our main character, Anna, and we're getting to know her life, and we're getting to know how the plague affects her and those around her. And the point I'm at now, the village has kind of decided to come together and to isolate. It's written pretty beautifully. It has a very nice kind of set of phrasing. It does feel written as though it were written by someone of the time. So it's not using modern language, it's a lot of kind of older terms, and it has a big focus on religion and what religion means to the main character and what it has meant as she's growing up. She works for the pastor, I don't remember exactly what word they use, the rector. She works for the rector and his wife, so she has quite a strong link to the religiousness of the village. And it's just been very sad. The whole thing is very sad so far. And I don't think it's going to get happier anytime soon. I did almost cry at one point. So I do feel like I'm beginning to be invested. But it's kind of happening at such a speedy pace that I didn't expect. And I don't know what's going to happen in the next like half a book, because all the kind of tragedy that I expected to befall our main character has already happened. So I'm interested to see where it goes from here. Oh, my battery's gonna die. Okay. How long have we got left? 7.5 hours left today. And I have finished Year of Wonders. I feel conflicted talking to you about it because I think there's quite a lot of that you can take away from this book. It's mostly about Anna and how she deals with this plague and the relationships she forms and the other people in the village, but it is kind of like this character study of Anna and what she goes through and how she grows and how she kind of transforms herself from what she feels like is a weak person into what we would consider a strong person. A lot of this book is during the plague, and then this section at the end is the aftermath. And this section felt very different from the rest of the book. There were character revelations, and I think those character revelations were a bit inconsistent with what we had learned throughout the rest of the book. It feels almost like it was trying to become like a thriller with a plot twist that you couldn't have seen coming. And it was very like high emotion and dramatic. Like I think I would describe, like, the closest book I've read to this is, I would say, Annie Bot. Because you're just watching people go through horrific things until the main character kind of finds her strength at the end. And I think that is very reminiscent of Annie Bot. And it has that same, to me anyway, it has that same thing of being uncomfortable throughout, where everything is so awful and miserable that you just feel horrible for the characters. Like, I don't know, I once heard someone say that Annie Bot is like a horror. It's a horror of people. And this is a horror of people and plague. It's people doing horrific things to each other and the plague doing horrific things to people throughout the whole book. But it is beautifully written. I think the language used in this is very strong. It's written with a sense of time and a sense of place, and it's written with beautiful imagery, and it feels very readable. I'm giving this a 3-star based purely on my enjoyment of it. I think if you looked at this critically, it would be worth more than that, and I wonder if when I say come to the wrap up at the end of the month or the end of the year, I will think more highly of this book than I do right in this moment, as I have done with some other historical fiction. but my initial gut reaction for this is a 3-star. So that's what I'm going with. And now I have to pick another book. And I'll show you when I pick it. It's like approaching 6 o'clock. Oh, I brought up my thing so I can show you. I have about 4 hours left today, which means it's been, what, like 3 hours since I spoke to you before? And I've read that much of The Princess of Potential. Should I tell you about it? I don't know what to tell you. So it follows the children from the House Switch series, focusing on Alina, daughter of the king, and her search for a suitor. And I guess this was a terrible book to pick because I can't tell you much without telling you what happened in the House Switch series. But the king of a neighbouring country who has... The country has very different ethics, I would say, has come to try and woo her. And she's also making friends with Finn's kids, Cat and Tam. And there's some mysteries happening. There's some mysteries going on. There's her brother hasn't been seen in a few years. Tam is afraid of something, but we don't know what. The king from the distant land seems to want to change his country's attitudes towards certain things, and we're not sure why. And there's just a bunch of stuff going on. The whole House Witch series leans on the cozier side, but as the series progresses, it does become more political. And this one is relatively political, I would say. Trying to deal with her engagement and what that would mean for them. Because at this point, 144 pages into the book, she has decided to marry someone. She has accepted a proposal of marriage. I'm just interested to see how the rest of the story plays out, because so this is like an in-between book, right? There's the House Witch series, then this book, then the Burning Witch series. So I'm interested to see how many things get answered in this book and how many things are more of a setup for the next series. It's really nice. It is like 20 years later, but it's really nice seeing a lot of the characters from the House Witch series in this series. It has the same fairly light-hearted nature that I liked from the House Witch series, and it is pretty funny a lot of the time. I like Alina. She's being a nice character to follow so far. She has what I think is asthma or something similar. She has trouble breathing when she breathes too hard. Like, she breathes too hard and then it has what seems like an asthma attack. And that's an interesting, like, plot point of character growth for her and the way she's treated and how she wants to be treated because of it. So that's interesting. I am feeling a bit tired, but I'm gonna power on. I'm gonna do probably some like immersive reading, listening to the audiobook and reading along to help me focus. I've lit candles and stuff and made it all cozy in here, so that's nice for me. now the 25th and we have come back to read the next 12 hours. I feel like I should update you because I didn't really at the end of my reading. So I finished Princess of Potential. I don't remember what I told you about it before, but I really enjoy the whole House Witch series. I think the writing, I just get it and it gets me. The comedy in it just really tickles me the right way. So I ended up giving it 4.25, which is pretty good. I didn't love it as much as the first series, and I think that's just because I tend to be a series person. I like it when a story travels beyond one book, and this will definitely. There's a lot of stuff set up for the next books in the series, but it was also pretty much a standalone in what it was, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as humanly possible. So then I had about 40 minutes left, so I picked up Done and Dusted, and I got to page 52. So I've only just started, and we're following, should we see if I can remember the names? Emmy, short for Clementine, and I want to say Luke. Yeah, Luke. Look at me go remembering names. Emmy is a horse rider. I don't know what type of horse rider yet. Oh, my battery's gonna die. Life sucks. Well, anyway, I'm gonna read this and we're gonna start the 12 hours. Ready? Okay, I feel like I should tell you about the book. Oh, this is a really bad angle. Is that better? Is that better? I feel like I should tell you about the book. So we're following Emmy and Luke. Emmy is part of the family that owns Rebel Blue Ranch, and she turned 18, moved away, made a career riding horses, I think racing horses, but I don't know if it's like just races or jumping or anything like that. As far as I know, it's racing horses. But she had an accident and it spooked her. So she kind of blew up her life and has come back to Rebel Blue to try and heal, I guess. And we're following Luke, who is her older brother's best friend. He has essentially been adopted into the family since he was a teenager, and he has a bit of a reputation as like a bad boy, I guess. As soon as Emmy gets back and Luke sees her, it's like instant lustiness, which kind of turned me off, if I'm honest. I'm not an instant anything person. I like things to grow, but he was immediately like, I am man. I wish to bang her. I must protect, I don't know, whatever. But she didn't feel that way in return. But kind of slowly, she's learning more about him as he is now, rather than what he was like when they were teenagers. And he's helping her with her anxiety about getting on a horse again. And it's turned really quite sweet. It's an incredibly fast read. I don't know if you can see, but the text is really big and the margins are really big. So even though it's like 340 pages, it does feel like an incredibly quick read. I don't feel super invested yet, but I am like a third of the way in now. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep reading it. I can't see this getting less than a 3, but at the moment I can't see it getting more than a 4. That's where I'm at with this book so far. to like squat, because otherwise inappropriate. If I sit, I'm too low. What if I could do that? I'm sure that's distinctly unflattering. There's just under 8 hours left of the day. So that book took me like 4.5 hours, including the time that I read it the other day. I'm giving it 3.75. I think it was a really good, fun time, but I don't think there was anything special about it, particularly. And I couldn't, the dirty talk. I just couldn't. We'll leave it at that. Not for me. So I have the last book that I'm trying to read today, which is The Drift by C.J. Tudor. And I'm gonna pick it up on audio and tidy my room because I feel like I need to move my body. I don't feel like I can sit down for another 8 hours and do nothing. So we're gonna start with audiobook. Thus far in 120 pages, and I feel like I should tell you about it because it's quite good. So we're following 3 different perspectives. It says them on the back. One is a girl who's stuck in a coach that has been overturned. One is a woman who is stuck in a cable car with a bunch of people. One is a man who is in like they call it the retreat, it's like a chalet, but they're all in the middle of this storm. Basically we find out that there's some kind of infection that's happening, and the 2 that aren't there are on their way to the retreat for whatever reason. So we have Hannah, who's the one in the coach that has crashed, who is a medical student, and it's a coach for the students all on the way to the retreat. And then we have Meg, who is in the cable car, who is with a bunch of people who it appears like they were drugged and put in the cable car, all their belongings were removed, all that kind of stuff. But when they wake up, they realise that one of them is dead. And then Carter is the last person who is, it seems, already at the retreat and has been there for quite a long time. He went out to get supplies and came back, and there had been a power cut, and there is a reason why a power cut for them is specifically bad. So they're all in these kind of terrible situations in this snowstorm. And as the book is going on, we're learning more about the people, what happened to them before, why they are here now, what led them to this like place in time. And we're learning about the infection and what that is. It's still pretty vague at this point, but we know that there's basically a very low survival rate if you are infected. So look at me, I'm reading another plague book. I hope I like this one better. C.J. Tudor has a really good way of ending each chapter with like some sort of reveal or some sort of cliffhanger or something really interesting that makes you want to go back to that perspective, but it immediately shifts to a different perspective. So you kind of get left in suspense for the next 2 chapters until you get back to the person. At this point, the 3 perspectives are being very, very slightly linked together, very slightly. There has been mentions of the same people in the different perspectives. So it's just starting to leave little breadcrumbs of how these 3 people might be linked beyond the link of the retreat, whatever that is. There's been a fair amount of death and a fair amount of gore, but nothing too extreme, I would say. But it does feel a lot like a survival book. Like, they're all figuring out how to survive in this snowstorm and what the snowstorm means for them in their current situations. So that's where I'm at. I'm this far in and I have a theory about how the stories are connected. I don't think it's a mind-bending theory. I think there are enough seeds that most people would have guessed by now. I think I needed it pretty much spelled out for me. Oh no, but that doesn't make sense. Anyway, it's my theory. And I'll tell you if I'm right or not. Okay, I was right about my theory, but whatever just happened, I didn't see that coming. It's getting good, people. It's getting good. Gonna die, so I'm gonna try and make this quick. I really enjoyed this book. It was twisty and turny, and it had fun reveals, and it had lots of gore, lots of death and gore, and I had a great time with it. Very fast paced, very action packed. I'm giving it 4 stars. But you see, the problem with finishing this is that it means I have completed my TBR, and there is 2 hours and 15 minutes left. So I think we have to call the whole thing a success. I managed to complete all 4 books that were left on my TBR in less than 24 hours. In like, maths, 21 3/4 hours. Is that maths right? And I know now how much I can read in 24 hours when I'm not horrifically sleep deprived. So going back over what we read Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks, which I gave a 3 star. I read The Princess of Potential by Delamach, and I loved it. I gave this a 4.25. I read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, which was just like a fun, silly time. Anyway, I gave it a 3.75. And then finally, I read The Drift by CJ Tudor, which is a thriller, horror thing, and I gave it 4 stars. And with that, we are ending the video with 2 hours and 11 minutes to spare. I'm very pleased with how this went. I'm very glad I finished my TBR. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this style of 24-hour video again. I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoy the 24-hour straight video, although I am much less sleep deprived, so that is a plus that I have to bear in mind. But I guess the only thing left to say is thank you for being here. Thank you for watching me read 4 books, and I will see you in the next video.